If you guys are not currently watching on YouTube, please join over there. Can anybody hear me? Let's see if anybody can hear me. Nope, nobody can hear me. I restarted the live stream, so I'm curious if it's better now. Oh, you guys can hear me. Perfect. All right, cool. I'll wait for people to join again. Now that we are live on YouTube and it's actually working. I'll have to delete the old one. We'll wait a second. Thank you so much, Fresh Start. Appreciate you. We'll wait for a couple more people to join. We had a bunch of people in the chat, and now I'm just seeing a couple people, but that's okay. We'll wait a couple more minutes. No, actually, I restarted the live stream, so now it should be working. So go ahead and move over to my YouTube live stream so that we can watch my next step in living the good life. Clarker, the Christmas tree is real and it's in a planter, so that's the difference. So it's fine. All right. Perfect. Manny is in the YouTube live stream. Today, since I'm going to need to restart, we're going to be talking about the truth about your age, and we're going to talk about Alexander the Great's aggression. And I know a lot of people are excited about talking about this, so that'll be fun. And we'll talk about the best way to counter any opposition. So if you are not currently watching on the YouTube live stream, please do that. It's the only place you'll be able to hear. All right. Let me wait for a couple more people to hop in. I know I see a couple people, but there were a few more in my old stream. All right. So we're talking about immortality and the truth about age. One of the problems I see in today's generation is people having a misconception and a misweight on their age. And it is important not to act immortal. Alexander the Great was really effective at getting what he wanted. And it's important to live your life a little bit like him in one aspect if you are trying to get a lot done. And for those that don't really know what he did, at age 19, he started his quest to expand his father's empire. And he had huge aspirations. And by age 31, when he died, he had conquered the entire known world. And it was an incredible feat, but I get a lot of opposition being only 24 years old right now. People tell me that I can't know very much. It's not possible that I can be very successful or be as wise as somebody in their 50s and 60s. And I would entirely disagree. People can absolutely know a lot. And even a 5 or 6 year old can be somebody that you can learn stuff from, as long as they are aware and noticing things that everybody else doesn't notice. So you can learn something from everybody. Let me mute myself. I am muted. You have to go to my YouTube live stream in order to hear. So that is what that is. Okay. So most of us are patiently impatient versus impatiently patient. And we talked about this before, but patiently impatient basically means if you have a goal, maybe you want to lose 100 pounds. You really want to be at your goal weight. Let's say your goal weight is 200 pounds and you're currently 300 pounds. A lot of people will say, I want to be 200 pounds within 2 years. I'm trying to lose 50 pounds a year. But what are you doing today? Are you patient today, but impatient with the end goal? Or are you the reverse, which is impatiently patient, IP versus PI? And IP basically means you're impatient today, but you're patient with the end goal. So you're really putting the work in today. But when the end goal happens, when you finally reach that point, that's not the most important thing. Does that make sense? And so we've talked about it before, and I think that many people live with the lottery mentality. They think that tomorrow will be incredible and will be so much better than today simply because it's tomorrow and not because of what they did today. And so most of us are PI versus IP. In our fears, we act as if we are mortal, but in our desires, we act as if we are immortal. As you move away from control, you move closer to chaos. And today you have control over most things. So if you think about this, future days, tomorrow, the next day, you're going to have a little bit less control. But today, when you have a high sense of awareness about what's happening in the world today, what's happening in your life, you can control a lot more. There are a few things out of your control, but most things you can control. I didn't really plan on talking about this, but I also wanted to talk about the victim mentality. People that victimize themselves are often very unhappy. So being a victim is like one of the easiest ways to achieve unhappiness because you believe that most of your circumstances are out of your control and you have a lot of self-pity. And when you believe that the world is unfair to you, you automatically have a bad view of what is going to happen, what could happen, and you're very pessimistic. And overall, like it's okay to think that bad things can happen, but if you don't think that you have control at all, then if you don't take responsibility for stuff, then it's really hard to be happy in general. So that's something that I think is really important. So today will be a lot easier than tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a little bit harder. And the goal is to forecast. And the ability to forecast is hard at best. You have to have long-term goals, but every day move towards that goal. So have the long-term goals, but really focus on what are you doing today, moving towards that goal. Alexander the Great was not on a 20-year timeline. He didn't think about how many years it would take to conquer the known world. He wanted to conquer the known world, right? He had goals, but he was really pressuring himself to get things done, but not necessarily in a certain time frame. A lot of people would think, well, let's take 30, 40 years to achieve these set goals. If you think about the standard for like retirement goals and stuff like that. But Alexander the Great didn't have a timeline. He just had his goals and he worked insanely hard towards them, much harder than he needed to. There's a great book by Grant Cardone called The 10X Rule, and I love it. It's kind of repetitive, but it says something that most of us need to know, and that's at best, when you do the bare minimum, at best, you get bare minimum results. But most likely you're going to be falling behind almost entirely. And that same concept goes into a lot of things in life. Like, for instance, if you're wanting to work out 3 times a week, most people have to plan to work out maybe 5 times a week, and then they achieve 3 times. And then if you're trying to work out 1 time a week, maybe you pretend that you need to get into the gym 3 times a week, and then you end up with 1, maybe 2. And so it's better to overplan and overcompensate. Forget about your birth certificate age. Forget about my birth certificate age. It only has validity in statistics. Alexander the Great conquered all the way up to India while he was so young. And you could be your healthiest at 18 years old and get hit by a car, just like he died at age 31. So his timeline was very different than everybody else's. But it's important to also count towards death. I think that people need to have awareness about their mortality and think about it regularly. Think about how many people have I impacted in my life? How many people will attend my funeral? How long will I be remembered? If you assume that you could potentially live 100 years, you can subtract that from your current age and determine how many years you have left. And that's how you start counting towards death, right? If I'm 25 years old and I think, okay, 100 minus 25, I have 75 years. And that's it to make the difference. That's like the best case scenario. And I know that my energy will deplete. And I know that my time will start depleting. And I almost think about it as like compound interest. Like I have way more opportunity, way more energy to give. I can run a lot faster today. But as time goes on, it's going to compound in the opposite direction, meaning slower and slower over time. So really, you just have to do something today. Don't start a diet tomorrow. Like the people that say, oh, I'm going to quit smoking tomorrow. I'm going to, this will be the last time I eat these chicken nuggets, and then I'm starting a diet tomorrow or next week. And that's the silliest thing in my mind. Like, that's such a bad habit. If you're trying to lose weight, you lose weight the second you want to lose weight. You decide that you're going to. Lose weight today. Don't wait until tomorrow to lose weight. It's so sad, and we talked about it a couple episodes ago. But by the end of the month of January, we have all these New Year's resolutions that people put into place. But by the end of the month of January, 80 to 90% of people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions. And a lot of that is because they don't overcompensate what they need to be doing, right? If you think, well, I need to be doing blah, blah, blah to get this result, you need to do a lot more than that, because that's that best case scenario. So you should probably be overcompensating for your actions. And honestly, small steps daily are bigger or are better than big steps every once in a while. Somebody that goes to the gym and works out for 5 or 10 minutes is much, much better off than somebody that goes to the gym once a month and works out for 2 hours. It's about having the integrated life, not the compartmentalized life. So you should integrate your life together. If you work in an office space, try taking a walk around the office and doing some squats or push-ups, and just do it for 15, 20 seconds every half hour. Like it shouldn't be that compartmentalized. And that's how most things in life need to be. You have to take small steps constantly, starting right now. And with health, it's the same way, right? Like if you are generally healthy for most of your life, it is much better than if you are completely unhealthy for half of your life and then super healthy for the other half. Don't hide the reward. Don't hide a bunch of broccoli with cheese. If the reward is the broccoli, like no. Because you have to have focus, and you have to know, like, okay, well, what is the thing that's going to be rewarding and what's the thing that's not going to be rewarding? All I do is work out. That's all you do, JP. Yeah, but like, what if you stopped suddenly working out? Like, if you stopped working out and you never worked out again? You really have to start as if you're going to die tomorrow, but stick with it as if it will last 20 years. So think about it. It's a balance between two things. And we talk about this in the financial industry. You have to figure out what will be challenging enough and what will be enough action to where it will be meaningful. So what can I do that's going to be meaningful long-term, and then balance that with what is going to be doable long-term. And do more than you think you need to do. And do it today and break it down into small chunks. It's like somebody that says, how to eat an elephant. It's one bite at a time. So set a goal every single day towards your health, towards your wealth, towards your happiness, towards your love life. Small little goals every single day. That is how I've achieved so much at a young age. Many people ask, well, how do you have, over a dozen homes? How do you have all of these investment accounts? And how do you do all these different things at 24 years old? Well, it certainly wasn't because my parents positioned me for those things. I didn't get outside help from my family. So how did I do it? Well, there's something that I call the 10X rule, which we talked about. There's another book that I love called the 12, what is it called again? I think it's called the 12-month, I think it's called like the 12-day month. Maybe called the 12-day month, which is basically, you have to look it up to find the exact name for it. I could look up the 12-day month. The 12-week year, that's what it is. I knew I was close. So it's called the 12-week year, which is all about just exponential activity. So if you set your time frames smaller and you set your goals to be slightly smaller within those time frames, you achieve a lot higher results. People that are busy get done so much more than people that are not. So if I say, okay, I have 12 weeks to get done the same amount of work that other people get done in an entire year, well, that's a pretty easy way to get ahead. And everybody's in competition. No matter what, you're going to be in competition. And there's always competition in everything you're doing. So owning a bunch of homes, I set small goals for myself every single day towards that. And that's how I get there. Health, you have to think about the threefold aspects of health. You got dieting, you've got cardio, and you've got lifting, right? You have to build strong heart and lungs. You have to build strong muscles, so big, and then you have to really focus on what you're eating. It's threefold when it comes to your health. And you can definitely focus on all three things every single day, or a couple of those things a couple times a week. And this series is all about abundance. And abundance is about mastery. A lot of people think about, one of the things that I think about that is one of the key factors of unsuccessful people is that is fear, right? Fear is one of the main things that keeps people unsuccessful. They're afraid of a lot of things. And some of it's for good reason. I think that people that are in disadvantaged situations are preyed on the most heavily. So people, like one of my friends told me, it costs a lot to be poor. Meaning, if you live in a bad apartment complex, your car could get towed any day and you will get charged $1,000, right? Like you have more costs associated with being in a bad situation. And so, but what is the opposite of fear? And the opposite of fear is, most people will say, is courage. But I would say that the opposite of fear is abundance. Because abundance is basically success. So stop living with fear. Let it be conquered by abundance. There has been a constant war throughout all of human history, and that is a war with fear. If you are currently not watching my YouTube live stream, please go over there so that you can hear me. Thank you, Sean. So the constant war is the war with fear. And those who have the courage to conquer it are made free. And those who are conquered by it will suffer until they either have the courage to defeat it or are made to suffer until death takes them. That's Alexander the Great. And death takes everyone. So you must prepare for an abundant life. Do things while they are easy. Save while you don't have tons of expenses. Feed yourself well while you're able to. Take advantage of the things that are going to give you optimal health, wealth, love, and happiness when you have the ability to do them. Let's say you're saving for a house and you feel like you need to be working 40, 50 hours a week, and you also want to be doing a couple other different things. There's only so many hours in a day, right? 16 waking hours in a day, if you take out the 8 that you're sleeping. So if you're really saving for a house, maybe you're not able to focus on your relationship as much. Maybe that's not a priority. So maybe you save for a house before you decide to be in a committed relationship and get it done so that you have the ability to focus more on relationships. Or maybe you double down on your relationships before you have a house. Like, you have to think about which things you're going to focus on at what times. But death takes everyone, and you have to prepare for an abundant life. Do things when they're easy. I'm a Christian, and there's so many religious people that say that this life on earth does not matter. And my brother said that. I told you guys a while ago, a couple episodes ago, I said, my brother told me that he was ready to die at any point in time and that it didn't really matter to him anymore. And I completely disagree with that, because the actions we take on this planet are the only actions that matter and that determine our eternal destiny. So if you believe that, then you should really care about the time that you have on this planet. I love the conversation. You're right, but measure of success and happiness is different to everyone. Yes, it absolutely is, Stephen. I've seen a poor family at Disney with 4 kids, but they look completely happy for their situation. But there is a difference between fun and happiness. Fun and happiness are 2 very different things. So we'll talk more about happiness later on. This is more about abundance and about conquering fear in the way that Alexander the Great did. So this conversation is more about the truth of age, a little bit of a lens about time, Alexander the Great's aggression, and then the best way to counter opposition. So we're in a constant war, a war with fear. And just to go back a little bit, I disagree with the way that my brother views our time on this earth. And I think it's healthy to have a fear of aging and a fear of time. Instead of being paralyzed by it, you need to let it move you instead. And set 1-day goals. Stop setting 5-year goals. When an employer asks me what my 5-year goals are, I could certainly dream a little, but I like to tell them what my 1-year goals are when they ask me about my 5-year. That's a great way of thinking about it. Somebody asks you, what are your 5-year goals? I just tell them my 1-year goals. It's better to think about it that way, because you're more likely to achieve your 1-year goals in 1 year. And people will think that they're your 5-year goals because they're definitely as big as other people's 5-year goals. And that right there is the truth about your age. All right, so my questions are, but I've seen a rich family look utterly unhappy. Yes. So Stephen, I'll tell you a little bit before I ask my questions. So money does not make you happy entirely, but it definitely doesn't make you unhappy. So I believe that money doesn't exist outside of happiness. They're not disconnected, not utterly disconnected. So there is some connection there. People that have more money are generally happier. That's scientifically proven, statistically proven. However, once you get to a certain amount, it makes you incrementally happy. So once you get beyond a financial stable position and having a little bit of excess, and that varies from state to state, wherever you live, then you're only going to be slightly happier for each amount of money that you make on top of it. For most people, it really starts leveling out around $75,000 a year. So you have all your base expenses covered. And then it starts going up just ever so slightly. Happiness has a lot more to do about perspective and finding happiness in certain situations. So there's a very big disconnect between fun and happiness. Those two things are not entirely correlated. So fun, people that are having fun does not mean that they're happy people. People that are in really bad situations can be some of the happiest people in the world, and that's because of contrast. So we'll talk about contrast bias another time, including the thing that really changed my perspective, and I think is the secret of happiness, and that is a conversation that Sigmund Freud had, where basically you're only happy when you have hard stuff happen to you. And we'll talk about that more because there's a lot of controversy there. But when I really explain it, people understand it. So we'll talk about it another time. But my questions for today are, what is an example of long-term goals, meaning health, wealth, love, and happiness, that should have happened to you quicker and you've been putting off? Maybe you've been trying to start a business for years, but you've been putting it off. Instead of setting one-day goals, you have a patiently impatient goal versus a patiently impatient. And if you guys are just joining, you're going to have to go back and listen to what I said about that topic earlier in this stream. So what are some long-term goals that you've been putting off? And then my other question is, what is something that you can start right now moving towards that is a long-term goal? Something that you can right now start. Don't start dieting tomorrow. Start dieting today. Don't start saving tomorrow. Save today. Just as a couple examples. And if you liked this topic on Alexander the Great, definitely like this live stream. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so that you can watch tomorrow's stream, and comment any future topics that you'd like to be covered. I'm going to go through a whole series of finding personal happiness, mental health, insecurities. We're going to go through that in a couple weeks. But I have quite a few different topics I need to finish first. But I'd love to hear what people are dealing with. The journey to 1,000 miles is taken by one step. Yeah, you have to get in the car if you want to start a road trip. And honestly, if you ever get there, even if you 1,000-mile journey, even when you get there, if you ever get there, you're going to be too late, rich, too old, too quick. So it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. Hope I put that out there in a way that you guys can understand. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about avoiding the success faux pas, which is basically about forgetting who's in the room. So don't forget who's in the room. I will see all of you guys later. Oh, I'm cutting in and out. That's okay. This is the end of the stream, but I'll see everybody tomorrow morning here for the next step in living the good life. All right. I'll see all you later. Bye.